It's been a couple of days since we last talked about Monster Hunter Wilds, and it seems like the conversation hasn't really moved forwards or backwards at that matter at all. It is still the same old story of, I absolutely love this game. Most people love this game. It's absolutely amazing. But the optimization is absolute garbage, okay? Most computers cannot run this bad boy properly. There's FPS issues, there's these issues, there's that issues, and whatnot. And people with high-end rigs are obviously saying, well, it's running good for me. But then we have this unique group of people who are saying, I also have a high-end rig, but I can't run this properly for some reason, which makes the conversation even more questionable, honestly, at this point. And considering time has passed, now the conversation has crystallized. People know what they're talking about, and people understand finite detail. And finite detail is the fact that this game was not optimized for PC, which we all already knew. It's optimized for PlayStation. Because autism is a thing that exists for some stupid reason. And it's not even optimized properly for PlayStation. Most people are not getting their shitty 30 FPS anyway when playing it on it. And it doesn't look like it's going to get better. So, there are a couple of issues. Good game, but there are issues.
Right now, Capcom is finding out what happens when a AAA studio releases a beloved franchise game in an unfinished state. You get a really rare launch that looks like this, with over 1 million concurrent players on Steam alone,
Massive.
While at the same time earning mostly negative reviews. And let me know down in the comments how your experience has been with Monster Hunter Wilds. So we need to talk about this. Let's take a look at why people are so angry, as well as Capcom's surprising response to all of this. And while the game has earned mostly negative reviews on Steam, it still has over 1
Oh, look at that. Almost 1.4 million players. That's insane. But we can see a big drop Reno right here. Oof. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter because that's just the lowest part. But Monster Hunter Wilds players, considering I don't play this game, you need to answer me one question. Is this game full of fucking Zoomer Gen Z humor? Like, lock in and things like that, and it's way too often, and it's really annoying, and it seems... is that the case? I need an answer to this, and you must answer in the comments.
1 million people logging in to play it concurrently on Steam alone, which suggests that people are pushing through the pain because there's a part of them, or at least a part of this game, that they're still really enjoying. And it's all a bit tragic because this...
It makes sense. Again, people push through the pain with Dragon's Dogma, and Dragon's Dogma had a whopping 10 FPS for a lot of people in cities, which is hilarious. But still, Dragon's Dogma was a really, really fun and amazing game. People played it, and it was great.
This game is actually a ton of fun if you can actually run it. But I think that this game is a little bit of a wake-up call for these developers, as I'm sure they were expecting a much warmer reception than the one they're getting right now. So let's take a look at what people are complaining about.
Well, I do know about this a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie. Diversity hires much?
By looking at a couple of these Steam reviews here. This one says my grandma runs better than this game. Don't ever change Steam reviews. I love you. Now, I think this is the #1 complaint that people have right now. It's going to be absolutely the performance issues that this game is having. The next review says this game is everything wrong with PC optimization in 2025. And the next one in the line says, I paid $70 to boot a crash report. So not only is the game running really poorly, it's also
That one was good.
crashing for a lot of people on both PC and console. And that seems to be the thread. You'll see the people that are saying the game's running fine for me on my 4090, and then everybody else who says the game's running pretty awfully. And so the obvious problem there is, well, most PC players don't have the $2,000 video card that is the 4090, and no console players have it. So that makes for a lot of disappointed customers.
Oh, I'm so pissed about... Dude, the reality is, by the way, this is what people get wrong. Monster Hunter Wilds, or any of the modern day games, they were not actually made to be played even on the high-end graphics cards. That's also a reality that you honestly need to consider. It's just, the optimization is poor as shit. That's kind of what I'm saying.
But this next review really summarizes the sentiment around performance right now. It says the game is absolutely amazing, but has the worst optimization I've ever seen. People actually love the game. They're actually really enjoying the game when they're able to play it and when it's running smoothly. The problem is their computers or their consoles just aren't handling this game well because the optimization has been so bad. And I remember with Dragon's Dogma 2's launch, it's using the same engine and they had a lot of similar problems with performance in that game. And so that was one of the things I was watching as this game approached. How's the performance going to be? Have they fixed performance with their engine yet? Because they are using the RE engine, the Resident Evil's engine for this game, and it looks like it's still really struggling here. Perhaps the most surprising thing about Capcom's responses so far have been the fact that they haven't really been talking about the poor performance and all of the crashing, and players are starting to notice that. If we look at their most recent post on X here, the comments from players is, what about performance issues on PC and consoles? Fix performance. Any word on fixing random crashing on console? Some players can't play the game. Game is crashing on Xbox Series X since the last update, and this person says, at least say something about the crashes, please. So players are very frustrated both with how the game is running and also with Capcom's response to how it's running so far, with no real acknowledgement from the studio that this game is in a pretty rough state at the moment. Another big one that I'm seeing a lot of complaints about is the networking issues. The players are being disconnected from the lobbies that they're in constantly, and I'm guessing that this is just a launch issue. You've got millions of people trying to log into these lobbies and the servers are just not handling it well. This seems like it's going to be something that's more of a launch weekend problem than a persistent problem, and I'm expecting the networking problems to resolve themselves over time as fewer people start logging in and as Capcom hammers out the bugs that are causing the problems in the first place. But performance can be fixed. Optimization can be improved. Unfortunately, performance isn't the only thing that people are complaining about at launch. So the thing that makes the poor networking this weekend more frustrating is the fact that the multiplayer system in this game is not being well received at all. It's very, very convoluted system. And so when you finally get into a party and you're finally doing something together and then you get
Is it? This is the first time I hear anything about that being the case. Shoot flare, get people help, blah blah blah. Initially, people were kind of okay with that. What's happening now? Is the system just bad?
Connected after all of that work, it's even more frustrating for people because the way the multiplayer in this game works is surprisingly bad. I mean, they've got thousands of games over the last 2 decades to use as an example on how to build a multiplayer system, and they definitely decided to take their own route here. The multiplayer evokes 2 emotions from you. One emotion is, this is amazing, fighting these monsters with my friends is a great time, and then it elicits a second emotion the other half of the time, which is, I'm waiting for my friend to get to the part of the hunt where I'm actually allowed to join him. So the way multiplayer actually ends up playing out is, you stand in town while your friend completes the campaign objectives necessary to get to the hunt, and only then can you join his party. And so you end up standing in town for 10 minutes waiting for him to get to the part where you can join, which is the fight with the monster. Then you fight the monster for 10 minutes, then it automatically kicks you out of the party, you get sent back to town, and you have to stand there for 10 minutes while he goes through the quests, and you wait until he gets to the point where you can join him again. So it's 10 minutes playing together, then it's 10 minutes playing by yourself with a lot of going through the menus to...
Oh, that is insanely stupid. I mean, Capcom is a really shit company in a lot of respects, but damn, Capcom, please.
Rejoin the party in between. And if that sounds confusing to you, it's confusing to everybody. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the grouping system. So be sure to leave a comment down below with your experiences. Do you like it? Do you wish it was different? Let me know. And I'm also going to tell you exactly how I feel about it. But first, now hunting prehistoric monsters on this planet is great, but what about when you feel like hunting monsters in space? Revenge of the Savage Planet by Raccoon Logic is the rejoin it is they've got so many different multiplayer modes. They're all doing essentially the same thing. You've got your members list, you've got link parties, you've got squads, and then you've also got friends lists. And
I am so confused. The friend list, though, is self-explanatory, I feel, but everything else, what's the difference between a squad and a fucking party or whatever? Jesus.
One of these things should be able to do everything that all of them are doing, so that you're not wondering, should I be creating a members list? Should I be creating a lobby? Should I be creating a link party? Should I be inviting a friend? Like, which one am I supposed to do to play multiplayer? Why does the game have squads that you can make and link parties and members lists and lobbies, right? One of these things should be able to do all of these things. And so what it results in is an incredibly unintuitive menu system. It's a really convoluted process, and it's really surprising that a game that's this popular is using a multiplayer system that is this flawed. And like I mentioned, the tragedy of this is when you're actually finally in your friend's party and you're finally fighting the boss together, it's magic. That's when you get the Monster Hunter experience that you came for, that you love, and it's a great time. It's just that they make experiencing that so difficult while you're going through the campaign. Another complaint I'm seeing a lot in the Steam reviews are ones like this one right here. Pineapple with Perp says $70 games should not have microtransactions to edit character appearance. So the way—
oh, come on, it's a Capcom game, okay? Anyone who's buying a Capcom game needs to understand one thing and one thing only, that this is the minimum you're supposed to expect, okay? Capcom is gonna not change. There's no point in us trying to, you know, reduce the player, say it's bad or whatever. Capcom doesn't give a shit. Capcom is gonna do this until the heat death of the universe, until entropy finally takes place and the distance between everything is just too damn high, okay? And even then, Capcom is gonna send you a game with microtransactions.
This game does character appearance changing. Once you've created your character, you get one free character change, and then after that, you have to buy DLCs from the Steam store to change your character appearance.
Capcom, though.
The DLCs look like this one right here, $9.99, so $10 to be able to change your character 3 times. You get a 3 voucher pack, and you get that. So you're spending $10 to get 3 character changes. It seems like they think of this game as a single player game. Otherwise, the multiplayer functionality would be a lot better implemented. And so they end up charging you real money to change your character's appearance in a game.
Well, to be fair, most people did play Monster Hunter like a single player game. And I know you're already trying to write in, no, I played with, yeah. A lot of people did play with friends, that's true. But most people did play solo for the majority.
They think of as a single player experience. This one always strikes me as weird. It's not something that has ever been a problem for me because I make my character and then I don't really ever change their appearance after that. The game has a really good built-in armor changing system where you can easily change how your armor looks. It's got a transmog system where you can apply different armors over the one you're actually wearing to make it look like you're wearing something that matches, that's really cool. And it's got a great dye system so that you can customize the colors on the armor that you're wearing. So I think that the character customization is actually really fantastic in this game, but it always does rub people wrong that they are selling these character editor vouchers if you wanted to change something other than your armor about your character's appearance. And it's worth noting, one of the other frustrations people have with this system is since the character appearance changes are DLCs, that means once you've bought all the DLCs that are related to changing your character's appearance, you can never change it again because there's only a finite number of these DLCs that you can buy off the Steam store, and you can't buy them.
That is so insane, by the way. That is so insane.
More than once. So there is a finite number of changes to your character that you can make. This is one Capcom gets flack for every time they release a game. They've done the same thing on recent games that they've released. So this one's not new for Capcom, but it is one that people complain about in the Steam reviews every single time. Another complaint I'm seeing a lot is when you're riding your mount around and you're picking up ingredients and you get the error that pops up on screen saying, hey, your pouch is full. Do you want to send this back to your field camp? And then you have to select, okay, my pouch is full. And then you have to select, okay, send it back to my field camp. And so you end up having to press like 3 buttons after you pick up the item. It's just another situation where it could say, hey, we're sending this back to the field camp, and you hit okay, but instead it's multiple button presses. And really,
anything else would not be Capcom, okay? It's just, this is just how life was, okay? At the beginning, that wasn't the Big Bang. There was Capcom and their stupid fucking ideas, okay? That's how all of this started, and my god, that's how it's gonna end.
it should just be automatic. You shouldn't even have to confirm it. You pick it up and it should say, hey, your pouch is full, so we send it back to the camp. Or at least give us the option to have it function that way. That would be great. Because as it works right now, this ends up just being another example of where you feel like you're having to spend way too much time in the menu system when you just want to be playing the game. Now, on a more positive note, when it comes to the actual gameplay of the game, you know, fighting the monsters, upgrading your gear, exploring the world, like people are really enjoying the look and the feel of the world, the look and the feel of the combat, the monsters that they're fighting. When they're actually able to participate in the gameplay, they're really enjoying the game. And so I think,
imagine liking the game when you get to play the game. What a novel concept.
as soon as they're able to address the performance problems, the crashing problems, we're going to see the Steam reviews drastically improve. In fact, since I started watching the Steam reviews come in, they've already started to drastically improve the score on Steam here. We're seeing the reviews going from below 50% positive to more than 50% positive here. And I fully expect that to continue moving in the positive direction as each of these bugs and performance issues gets removed from the game. But as a massive fan of this franchise, if there's anything I hope that Capcom takes away from this experience, I hope that they realize that this is how the Path of Exiles, the Pal Worlds of the world, this is how those games come to be. A developer watches a studio with a massively successful IP like this continue to release their games with the same problems over and over, and they eventually ask themselves, wait a second, what if I just made a game where you hunt massive monsters, chop off their tails, cut off their horns to upgrade your gear and your weapons, except my version has a decent multiplayer system and good performance? What would stop that game from being just as good or even better than Monster Hunter Wilds? That's how Path of Exile came to be. That's how Pal World came to be.
I mean, well, to be fair, there are other games that hunt monsters and shit. I actually saw a video of, in my recommendations today about that. Didn't watch it though. But yeah, because there have been a lot of games that are Monster Hunter-esque. They're not really Monster Hunter at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Monster Hunter is just a special thing. It's the same thing as Diablo, I feel. That, yeah, there's Diablo, and there's games like Path of Exile that is just objectively better Diablo. Last Epoch, also objectively better Diablo in all other regards. But it's the original. It's the thing that started all of this. It's the progenitor. So it has power no matter what. The name just attracts attention. Diablo 3 was a disappointment, and guess what? Diablo 4 was a disappointment. But it was a disappointment that sold the best amount of copies in the shortest amount of time for Blizzard. So, it has power.
Be, and if Capcom doesn't take this feedback seriously, I can see that happening to them as well. Monster Hunter isn't just one of Capcom's most popular franchises, it's one of the most popular franchises in the world with over 100 million units sold. The Monster Hunter franchise first started in 2004, which means it's had over 20 years.
Also, honestly, what the fuck is Dark Souls if not Monster Hunter but linear? Honestly. What are you killing Dark Souls? An Elden Ring? It's the same as Monster Hunter. Instead of monsters, they're like, oh, look at me, I'm a king that did stuff and now it's bad. Unironically, every single lore of every single Dark Souls Elden Ring game that has been.
To evolve into the amazing beast we know it as today. But as a result of the popularity of the franchise and the sheer amount of money that it's bringing in for the studio and the $70 price tag, people are starting to expect big things from this franchise. So they might want to polish up the next one before they release it. But I do want to end this video on a positive note because I have been enjoying this game. I've played fully through the campaign. It was a little bit shorter than I thought, but the game really does feel like it starts after you beat the campaign, if that makes
I'm pretty sure this was the case for all Monster Hunter games, because the point of Monster Hunter is to do the more challenging things later on and acquire everything. I don't know, that's just the default way I think this game is supposed to be played, but maybe that's just me. Any case, that was 10 out of 10. Oh, lucky ghost. Bye-bye.